Some years back, there was a case that I was dealing with. The wife had said that her husband was unfortunately looking at inappropriate material, and she found out. So she was complaining about her husband in front of me. The man had his head lowered down in shame. Not one word. And his wife dug into him and drilled in deeper and deeper, just shredding his honor. I don't mean this in the wrong way. I'm not throwing the blame on her, but that was what was happening in that moment. So I asked her to give me a few moments with him alone. She left the room. Before I even said one word, he looked up and said, "Sheikh, please don't say anything." He said, "Wallahi, every time I commit this sin, I cry and I ask Allah to save me. If I can trade everything that I had in the world to free myself of the sin, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I'm tied up in the shackles of shaitan and I don't know how to shake it off." I then said to him, "We'll talk about how to overcome this, but I just want to point out that this attitude of yours, this humility, this humbleness that you have, will one day make you a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It'll make you a friend of Allah. Because the number one trait that is a prerequisite for any form of wilaya is tawadu' and shukr. One is built off of the second. That without humility, you can't go anywhere in your spiritual journey, hence the form of sajda that is built into our daily worship. That you crumble yourself like a paper tossed on the ground, whispering to your Lord from that low place, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, this is where I belong, that's where you belong. Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. So I find myself when reading this narration to be that person, that I'm that guy who people were calling a donkey. That's me. And in that moment when they were cursing this man, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam stands up to advocate for him and says, "La tal'anhu fa innahu yuhibbu Allah wa rasulahu." Don't curse this man because he loves Allah and his messenger. That right there is loyalty. That I'm going to stand for my people. Yes, he has flaws and yes, he has weaknesses, and the world will be very quick to judge because we are very good at that. But for my companions, don't curse them, don't speak evil of them, because cursing them is cursing me. Showing anger or animosity to them is showing anger and animosity to me. مَنْ أَحَبَّهُمْ فَبِحُبِّي أَحَبَّهُمْ وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَهُمْ فَبِبُغْضِي أَبْغَضَهُمْ. Loving them is loving me. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the famous commentator of hadith, he, after narrating this hadith under the commentary, writes, "Out of all the corpus of hadith that I've studied and written on, I have not found a narration that is more hopeful for the ummah than this narration, because it shows us that a person can sin, yet their heart can be committed to Allah and His Messenger. It is possible to love Allah and His Messenger while being a flawed human being.